As soon as he saw the swarms of dust mites, like black clouds filling the retreat path, the beast tamer panicked and turned to flee, cursing under his breath. Waking up this morning must have been a mistake. So unlucky to run into him right from the start. This is bad. The only way is to lead those monsters here. Maybe then he can survive. He pulled a sling gun from his storage pouch. Bang! A sharp crack. A signal flare tore through the night sky, exploding brilliantly, illuminating the dark area like daylight. But Jiang Chen acted one beat faster. The dust mites surged like a flood, swallowing him whole in less than half a blink. One Shu Wu Jiang, the beast tamer, screamed in terror, his voice breaking. Clung to and deformed by the dust mites, he howled in despair. Jiang Chen just slightly curled his lips, watching his body collapse. If only one more ferocious beast could be called, then I'd admit defeat. But unfortunately, that flare was your death ticket. He glanced coldly at the corpse, then scanned around. In front of him were tens of millions of Joshi Jiang, fifth-stage creatures. Anyone who dared approach was doomed. Now he just needed to wait for the bait to take the hook, and then strike. For now, no more moves should be made to avoid an early stir. In the stands, Kyomen's eyes widened, and he blurted out a startled curse. Damn it! Those Joshi Jiang must number in the tens of millions. Gu Katian folded his arms, eyes half closed. More than that, but better to keep it hidden. This card must never be revealed. Jiling Xu remained silent, his gaze not very surprised. From the observation screen, Kuhan Zhen immediately sensed something was wrong. Wait, what the hell is he doing? Tens of millions of Joshi Jiang would be enough to crush it instantly, so why let the opponent fire the signal flare? Don't tell me he thinks they're invincible. He was so restless he couldn't sit still. Gu Ka-chen, your disciple is really good, just arrived and already ruined the plan. Now all factions will rush to Heiyulin, like 12 of us facing more than 30 on the other side. Gu Ka-chen only raised an eyebrow, silently hoping no one would discover his disciple's secret, and continued to watch quietly. He calmly glanced at Kuhan Zhen. What's there to panic about? Just sit tight and watch. If you crown yourself the king of indifference, then live up to the title. Acting so hastily is embarrassing. Jiling Qiu chuckled softly, closing his eyes slightly. Wait and see. Jiang Chen will prepare a worthy appetizer for you all. Hearing his grandfather say that, Kuhan Zhen frowned. His mind seemed to reload for a few seconds, before suddenly widening his eyes. Wait, what do you mean? Was the entire previous plan arranged by you? So why are you so calm now? Could it be that Joshi Jiang isn't Jiang Chen's biggest card? Gu Ka-chen maintained a calm exterior, but inside he shuddered at Jiang Chen's reckless handling. Even I feel worried, yet this kid still dares to stand firm. Although I told him about the 800 million, is he really confident enough to withstand a swarm of heavenly elites united with divine beings closing in? Nearby, at Heiyulin, in the secret area of Langwen Central, Ao Chen was tearing pieces of meat from a wild boar beast, the aroma spreading throughout his mouth. Culinary arts truly are humanity's greatest creation. It's just a pity that this creature's heart and liver aren't as good as those of humans. Thinking of something, he grinned wickedly. If it were the heart and liver of Zhen Hai Wang, grilling them would surely be a masterpiece. When the signal flare burst brightly in the sky, he immediately threw down the meat skewer, his gaze fixed on the source of the signal. Jiang Chen, you've been exposed. The corner of his mouth curved into a cold smile, his eyes sharp as knives. His body trembled slightly, instantly returning to its true form, then shot straight up into the sky. Suddenly recalling something, he chuckled softly. Grandpa's grand birthday is coming soon. He twisted his body as he rushed forward, shouting loudly, Jiang Chen, wait for me to behead you and turn your head into a wine vessel as an offering. Grandpa will definitely be very pleased. His gigantic body twisted and turned in midair, cutting through the wind and breaking the clouds at a furious speed. And Ao Chen, an old grudge flared up. Years ago, the Jiangnan war zone slaughtered the Sea tribe and stole 2 Haishenju pearls. This time, I will claim both principal and interest. Elsewhere, Don Wu Wei looked up, the light of the signal flare reflecting in his eyes. The corner of his mouth lifted into a sinister smile. Jiang Chen, so quickly you've revealed your position.
It seems your ability to hide is worse than I thought." He bent down, clenching both hands into fists tightly, his aura surging. A radiant ring appeared above his head, and behind him sprouted 2 gigantic wings. He is a very powerful being.
Purple wings emitting a halo. Shenji, activate. Taking direction from the light in the sky, Duanwei dashed through the canopy, laughter echoing. The distance was a bit far, but don't rush. I will come find you soon. The signal flare lit up the sky, causing someone from Sandao to burst out laughing. "Ha! Your Zhenhai Wang has been exposed." Seeing Feng Wuji frowned in displeasure, he became even delighted. Feng Wuji glanced coldly like a blade, while the other continued, "Rest assured, I won't let you escape." He grew more interested. "Even though you rank 5th in Sushanbang and I 15th, killing you might be uncertain, but stopping you is more than enough. Just wait, your Zhenhai Wang." Before he could finish speaking, his whole body was tightly wrapped by shining threads like being bound, the tightening force making his breath choke. Feng Wuji frowned slightly, gliding past and uttering coldly, "Too noisy." Moments later, the threads sliced through his body, leaving a pile of soft, mushy flesh like tofu. Feng Wuji immediately accelerated, performing Ling San Hui Bu and sprinting straight toward Hui Lin. "Jiang Zhen, I'm coming." The explosion of the signal flare from the beast tamer's hand immediately drew all the masters rushing toward Hui Lin. Barely 2 minutes into the opening, the situation had turned into a life-and-death battlefield. Everyone saw Jiang Zhen as prey. Little did they know, he was the hunter. Eggs Aochan was the earliest to arrive, his body twisting arrogantly as he hovered in front of Jiang Zhen. "This crown prince has come to borrow your head for a moment." Jiang Zhen coldly snorted. "Quick." Eggs Aochan curled his lips, his eyes filled with killing intent. "Your head? Let me have a little fun with it." Immediately after, he raised his head and opened his mouth to spit out a water orb. 2 divine pearls. Senhai Shan. Instantly, a giant stream of water shot straight into the sky, transforming into a lake suspended in midair. Jiang Zhen crossed his arms, his eyes gleaming with interest as he looked at the aquatic palace in the sky. This move is somewhat like Xiao Yuanshan's, isn't it? Egg Zhaochen responded by landing on the water surface, transforming into human form, holding a trident, his face angry and brows furrowed. "This thing familiar, right? Back then, Dexia stole 2 of our tribe's 2 divine pearls, and one of them is in your hands." Jiang Zhen was silent for a few seconds, trying to recall. It seemed like that really happened. At that time, I found that strange treasure useless, so I casually gave it to Ji Shu. "Take it back and share it with everyone." "Don't hesitate," he said straightforwardly while picking his ear and curling his lips. "Someone already gave it. I thought it was worthless, so I gave it to someone else." Upon hearing this, Egg Zhaochen's face immediately broke out in scales, his teeth grinding fiercely, chest heaving with anger. "Useless, and you gave it away? Scoundrels who dare to plunder treasures without knowing their value. Driven mad, he roared, "Today you will die beneath these 2 divine pearls." Tangyan chewed high. The trident struck the water, instantly summoning thousands of water dragons that howled as they charged upward, charging like a storm. Egg Zhaochen ordered blocking all of Ji Chang. Jiang Zhen stepped back a few paces, seeing his good disciples surrounded. He immediately understood that the enemy was targeting them. He quickly assessed the situation with a glance. It was not yet time to deploy all his forces, so he temporarily held back his troops. Seeing Egg Zhaochen preparing to attack again, Jiang Zhen drew a long sword from his storage space. His voice was icy cold. "If you want to change tactics, I will follow through to the end." The blade glowed red like blood. With an explosive momentum, Jan Yichu activated. Xin Ping Tianjuai Zan Yui Ming Wang manifested. "Don't think being above can suppress me."
Jiang Jian swung the blood-red sword energy several times, like splitting the sky, charging forward against the wind. Diado Ji Dao De Vec, Daosa Jinshui Yui. A fierce sword energy tore apart Egg Zhaochan's lake surface, forcing him to retreat rapidly. He shouted in panic, "What? It can be cut through again?" Not giving his opponent time to recover, Jiang Jian dashed into the air, his figure like a lightning bolt. His fingers formed a series of seals. His right hand aimed straight at Egg Zhaochan. He shouted loudly, "Frame the humble 93." He shouted, locking him down. A giant eye appeared in the sky, immediately imprisoning him. Thunder and lightning poured down like a storm. The water surface below reflected the electric sparks, amplifying the devastating damage. Egg Zhaochan tried to separate his spirit to counterattack, but turned pale when he realized this thunderstorm locked down his spirit, severing the connection with Haixin Zhu. In the distance, Jiang Jian tightened his grip on the long sword. Rushing forward like a wind blade, a numbness ran through Egg Zhaochan's entire body.
But it cleared his mind. He gritted his teeth, his eyes blazing with madness. "Damn you, Jiang Shen, do you think you can swallow me easily?" In the blink of an eye, he turned around, performed Longlin Hu Ti, summoned Sinbing Yeke, a giant water sphere enveloping his body, blocking all the lightning pouring down. Taking advantage of the escape from captivity, he shot towards Jiang Shen. His voice gritted word by word. "Without Zhou Shizong in hand, even without the need for Haixin Zhu, I am still strong enough to tear you apart. Daring to approach the human dragon clan? You really are tired of living." Jiang Shen saw his arrogance and replied coldly, "Is that so?" Then immediately exploded. Jiang Shen Bien. In an instant, his hair turned silver white, murderous arrow rising as if to tear the sky apart. Jiang Shen tightened his grip on the sword hilt, focusing all his strength into a straight stab. The blade pierced through the scales, cutting deep into the flesh, making Aok Chien feel as if swallowed by fire, his scream tearing through the air. Without hesitation, Jiang Shen swung the sword down, the slash splitting the shoulder blade, blood spraying. Aok Chien staggered backward, clutching the wound, eyes filled with panic. My dragon chill in your physical strength. How can it be so terrifying?" From afar, Duan Wu Wei stood with arms crossed, a sneer full of contempt curling his lips. This Aok Chien is still just a waste. But that's good. Jiang Shen counts killing him as doing me a favor. I've seen through your moves. Next will be our turn. This video ends. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Eogan's shoulder was torn apart by the blade. He collapsed, burning with pain like fire. In that critical moment, he immediately pulled out the two divine pearls, swallowed them whole, letting the surging power flood into his body like a violent wave. A stream of scorching heat spread from his chest, quickly healing the wound. The aura around him exploded fiercely. He gripped the trident tightly, forcing himself to stand firm. His gaze sweeping straight towards Jiang Chen as he gritted his teeth and ordered himself. Two divine pearls, enhanced defense. He charged straight into the water, his body cutting through the waves as the trident whistled in the wind. His arrogant eyes blazed brightly as he snarled with contempt. "Haya, you want to fight me? You're still too inexperienced." Jiang Chen held the long sword, his gaze sharp as a blade, the corner of his mouth curling coldly. "I have crushed Long Lin before. Besides his boastful mouth, what else do you have to rely on?" Eogan gritted his teeth, his hand tightening on the weapon, then suddenly thrust a deadly strike. He laughed provocatively. "Come on, today I will split you apart." Jiang Chen spun his sword to block, the clash of metal ringing harshly, the pressure from both sides tearing the air apart. In the stands, Ji Hong frowned, eyes wide open. Yogan is peak level 6, carries the true dragon bloodline, plus the 2 divine pearls. This guy is really tough. I'm not even sure I could break through his defense, yet Zhang Chen managed it. Gukai Tian stared intently at the match, a proud smile curling at the corner of his lips. Don't forget that little god is the strongest at the starting gate. After 49 intense rounds of combat, Zhang Chen tightened his grip on the sword hilt and unleashed a thunderous slash straight down. Iogen immediately sensed the murderous intent and hurriedly assumed a defensive stance, activating his shield. The 2 gods' steel shield protected him, fully absorbing the sword's deadly energy. Although the sturdy shield held firm, the slash still knocked Iogen's trident far away. Seeing that the shield was unscathed and the opponent unharmed, Zhang Chen frowned slightly. Even the Gukai Tian's Zan Shen Beyond couldn't penetrate the 2 gods' pearl. He would have to rely on Ji Shu's further research after returning. As the shock subsided and the sword energy was blocked, Iogen grew even more ferocious. Dragon scales rose all over his body. Sharp claws appeared clearly, his sharp teeth ground fiercely, and his eyes filled with murderous intent swept toward Zhang Chen. In an instant, Iogen fully transformed into a dragon, soaring straight into the sky under Zhang Chen's cold gaze. A roar shook the air. The dragon bloodline had awakened. "You must die." The true dragon manifested, circling in the sky as thunder roared and wild winds surged. His emerald eyes pierced Zhang Chen like ice daggers, and the fierce dragon roar shook heaven and earth. "Not only you, but your relatives and kindred. This Duke Sha will become a sea of blood." That overwhelming pressure pressed down, suffocating the space. Every hiss and tail swipe carried destruction. The aura of the true dragon enveloped thousands of miles, like a death sentence for all living beings here. At this moment, Zhang Chen felt that his body had reached its limit, his form gradually returning to normal. He glanced at his hand and chuckled softly, having forgotten that Zan Shen Beyond could only be maintained for so long. But that was fine. Zhenyu Ti had only used up 1 million G-Karma elephants so far. Ji Ling Chu frowned as she watched the battle, beads of sweat rolling down her forehead. Anxiety stirred within her. Zhang Chen was taking excessive risks. Although the Runlungju bloodline was not as pure as the DK Runlungju, it still carried the power of the true dragon. Once that power erupted, it would produce terrifying divine abilities beyond prediction. Everything happened in a flash. Yogan's claws struck down like meteors falling from space, the sensation no different than a giant crushing a tiny ant. In the stands, the elders all turned pale as they saw the precarious situation hanging by a thread. The Azer dragon standing on the water roared, causing one elder to shout loudly, "No hesitation! Quickly open Jishu Zhang! Take down Iogen first, then deal with the rest. Otherwise, it will be too late." But outsiders could never fully understand the calculations of those involved. Zhang Chen did not dodge. Instead, he seized the moment before the claws could reach him and instantly exploded with lightning speed. His long sword swung forward straight at Iogen, unleashing the Lei Shan strike. He stepped on Long Lin and his long sword emitted a lightning bolt that sliced through the void toward his opponent. The dragon roar shook heaven and earth, and the true dragon bloodline within Iogen was also awakened to its utmost limit.
In mind, the name Jiang Chen echoed repeatedly, beating like a spell. The image of Jiang Chen rushing closer made his pupils flare, the bloodshot eyes gathering into an uncontrollable frenzy of excitement. On the river's surface, Jiang Chen moved lightly, as if walking on clouds, his shadow spreading in all directions. He glanced around, a slight smirk at the corner of his mouth. "Speed? You don't stand a chance. Playing with you has been enough until now. Now, you're worthless." Clenching the long sword tightly, a dark red power spread. Millions of dust mites like a thick mist covered the battlefield. Jiang Chen activated Qinshang Zhen Yu, unleashing 6 million force in full. Before the ice-cold claws descended, Jiang Chen just curled his lips in a smile. The power from his arm erupted violently like flowing lava. Zhen Yu Tian Jia immediately formed. The speed was so fast it created a blazing red streak rushing straight toward Iogan. Kai Tian Dao sounded, while the opponent also bent his body forward, launching the Tianlong Jiao move in response. As he closed in on Iogan's giant body, Jiang Chen gathered all his strength to slash down. Behind him, a giant ghostly figure with blazing eyes flashed by, and Huangzu Bingxing Shi descended. The blade tore through the dragon's scale, shredding flesh and cutting deep into the dragon's leg. Red blood splattered, dyeing the water. The dragon's roar echoed, shaking heaven and earth. In the excruciating pain, reason surged up. Iogan understood he could not continue fighting. He twisted and fled, but still managed to grit his teeth and roar, "Jiang Chen, Long Huang Haizu will wipe out your clan." Trying to run? No way. Jiang Chen leapt into the air, unleashing a powerful strike aimed at the fleeing enemy. Mingxin Jimao shot straight through. The move, like a bullet chambered and fired, pierced Iogan's sturdy body. A scream of Iogan echoed as scorching flames erupted from the wound, burning his entire body as he fled. Seeing the perfect opportunity, Jiang Chen immediately shouted, "Little bugs, stop playing in the water and come out to feed." As soon as the words ended, pairs of eyes glowing like headlights simultaneously rose from the water. "Feeding time has come! Feeding time has come!" The swarm of dust bugs poured out densely like a black curtain, tightly wrapping around Iogan's body before everyone's eyes. The wounds on his body rapidly spread, chunks of flesh being gnawed away and disappearing. Yuan Wuxia, witnessing the battle's outcome, clearly decided, landed and praised. "Not bad, not bad. Thanks for helping me finish the task." Jiang Chen saw him arrive and casually asked, "Not going to keep watching for fun anymore?" Yuan Wuxia smiled wickedly, his sharp gaze locking onto the prey like a blade. "Now you can rest assured and die." Jiang Chen glanced around and replied nonchalantly, "You're all here? I really feel at ease." Fu Guji rode his sword, cutting through the wind as he charged forward. Upon seeing Jiang Chen, he shouted loudly, "Quick, follow me!" But before he could get closer, a cold laugh rang out. "Fungyun Wuji, you arrived quite fast." But from the darkness, a figure suddenly lunged out and delivered a thunderous kick to Fu Guji. "This is the Holy Sun's battle. None of you are allowed to interfere. Your opponent is me, Ouyang Yi." Fu Guji reflexively ducked low, narrowly avoiding the high attack. Realizing Jiang Chen had lost all support, Yuan Wuxia became even more frenzied. His face twisted grotesquely, his pupils emitting an unusual glow. He cracked his wrist with a snapping sound, a sinister smile stretching from his lips to his ears as he said, "See, no one will save you." In response, Jiang Chen remained calm. "Yeah, I see. It's okay for now." Jiang Chen slightly raised his eyebrows, his gaze locking on to the pervert before him like a hunting beast. On his arm, dark purple-black patterns slowly appeared, glowing brightly. At the same time, swarms of dust mites spread across his body. He smiled wickedly. "Come out, kids! Freed!" The swarms of mites rolled up like a descending night, engulfing the He-Yilin space entirely. They surrounded everything except those on Jiang Chen's side. His voice rang out coldly, "Eat your fill, but don't touch my people." Seeing this scene, Yuan Wuxia immediately panicked, his eyes wide open and teeth grinding fiercely.
Doesn't he only have 1,000,000 Zhao Shi Tong? On one side, Fengguji was also stunned for 3 seconds, muttering, "Wasn't it just supposed to be a fun test? Is this really the trump card?" Yang Yi stared silently at the thick darkness descending before his eyes, cursing, "Who was the informant? Deduct their salary and fire them immediately. What the hell is this quantity?" Ding Shunchu looked up at the pitch-black sky, holding his head and laughing heartily. "Wow, this is seriously cool!" Meanwhile, Nanggongyan crossed his arms and smiled calmly. It seems Jiang Chen
no longer needs us. Su Qianqian stood on a tree branch, her fox-like eyes shining brightly as she focused on Jiang Chen. She lightly touched her jade finger to her soft lips and giggled. "I didn't expect Xian Yi to choose a man with such taste. Even a fox spirit like me has been enchanted by him." Hao Ran watched the earth-shaking battle from afar, his eyes blazing as he lightly pushed up his glasses. 3,000 miles of Zhou Shi can still face 10,000 troops? Truly spectacular. Xiao Ming-chu smiled at this, withdrawing his gaze. "Enough showing off. Come with me to deal with a few guys, or we'll miss the good part." In the stands, Gu Katien was so excited he was shouting, "That's right! My disciple is the best!" Ji Hanan frowned in annoyance. "Am I the only one who doesn't know? You two are hiding it too well. It's infuriating." Ten Ming noticed the unusual development and immediately turned to Yan Zhen, his voice urgent. "Master, Jiang Chen has some kind of scheme." But Yan Zhen remained calm, his face stern. "Be quiet, focus, and watch. Vota isn't an easy opponent. If you panic, I'll panic too, you troublemaker." Despite saying that, Yan Zhen clenched his teeth in anger, veins bulging on his face. Fortunately, he had equipped Vota with Tian Xinming swords, so there was still a chance to win. But with hundreds of millions of Joshi like this, no wonder DK wanted to kill Jiang Chen. Yuan Wuxian glanced around, then stopped at Jiang Chen. He burst into a mad laugh, sniffing coldly. "Is this your trump card? Don't even dream of scaring me." He gathered his strength, bent his body down, and unleashed all his latent power. A dazzling purple light spread all over him, a wild force sweeping in all directions. The divine body had awakened. A strange laugh echoed. His face twisted horribly. He kept muttering, "Blood of a god, heart of a god, hand of a god," then looked at each part of his body in turn, his eyes like those of a madman. In just a moment, his body expanded into a giant, titan-like form, overwhelming in presence. His fierce eyes locked on Jiang Chen and a roar resounded. "I am the god. Jiang Chen, die." This video ends. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe to our channel.
Yuan Wuda smiled with a sinister grin. His body bent low, arms crossed in front of his chest. From his body, black energy surged like a violent wave, instantly transforming into a colossal form. 8 zhong tall, like a giant titan breaking through the void. His figure grew larger and larger. By the zhong, by the hundreds of zhong, by the thousands of zhong, accompanied by thunder and lightning that echoed and shook the entire sky. He stood towering in midair, looking down at Jiang Chun as if he were a lowly worm. A proud smile spread wide, Yuan Wuta gleefully boasted. "Jopian Xinming has pushed me to the threshold of Zhejuang. Just one final piece, and I will completely cross over." Madness flashed in his eyes. An ancient script brightly appearing right on his forehead. His body trembled under the overwhelming power, teeth clenched tightly. Then he shouted loudly, "Shinji Shore, open." Immediately, his entire body released a terrifying energy radiating in all directions, like a mutated sprout breaking through the ground and shooting straight up to the sky. A powerful aura filled the air. Thunder roared and winds howled. The sky changed color, and a sealed domain was established. Witnessing this scene, a group of elders all stood up at once, shouting non-stop. Unmatched Saint Sun, today is the day of ascension to godhood. Sandao will surely triumph. Yang Ming also clapped and smiled brightly, extremely excited. Only Yan Jun remained leisurely propping his chin, his cold gaze saying, over 100 million Jiao Zizhong? Truly beyond expectations. But to overturn destiny? Still a long way off. In Yan Jun's pupil flashed a fierce ray full of deadly aura. His hand casually propped his chin, the corner of his mouth curling, into a sinister smile. The domain just opened, locked all escape routes, even if the entire Jiao Zizhong self-destructed within seconds. By then, Jiang Chen would have long turned to ashes. On Jiang Chen's side, Ji Lingqiu clenched his fists tightly, his eyes filled with anxiety. He gritted his teeth, trembling inside. The spirit of Yuan Wuta could actually withstand 10 pieces of divine brightness, meaning he had already pushed open the Shizhuan door. In this battle, the little god would be hard-pressed to turn the tide. Shen Yu was extremely anxious. Quickly stepping over to Jiang Shenji, his tone sharp, "Old Kuang, you just stand there watching without saying anything. Give me a definite answer quickly. Besides the 10 billion Jiao Zizhong, does the little god have any other cards?" Jiang Shenji remained silent, his eyes never leaving the battle screen. He was quiet for a long time before speaking briefly. "I don't know. But one thing is certain. Jiang Chen absolutely will not die here." His gaze distant, as if touching some faint memory. His voice slow. Years ago, someone came back from the future carrying a cicada. I don't clearly remember the face, but the 3 prophecies that person left are still clear. Now is the time the second prophecy comes true. That person told me to give Jiang Chen a jade box, saying it contains a method to counter an existence beyond Shizhuan. If so, he cannot die in the Lingyun secret realm. Jiang Shenji was silent for a moment, then slowly spoke each word. He still hadn't used up 80 billion Jiao Zizhong, hadn't eliminated Yan Jun, nor had he drawn out the appearance of the ancient existence beyond Shizhuan. So how could he have died here? Hearing this, Shen Yu looked toward the battlefield, his gaze gradually steadying, and nodded slightly in response. "Yes, I understand." Facing the giant titan form of Yuan Wu Ta, a cold, sharp gaze swept over the opponent's body. This body was no different from the ancient divine corpse in the secret vault of the Ji family. If I were to unleash the full 10 billion Jiao Zizhong, perhaps even the secret realm would collapse. Then let's try 1 billion first. He calmly raised his hand, and countless creatures poured out from the void. Swirling densely around him, his voice echoed coldly, "Everyone knows I am the sea-pacifying king, but they have forgotten another title of mine." The swarms of dust creatures flowed like fierce fish. So dense they formed a giant curtain that obscured the sky and earth. Their breath made the atmosphere suffocating. Hard to breathe. Jiang Chen's voice rang out loudly. "Tianzai Junju." Witnessing this, Yuan Wu Ta was stunned, his expression constantly changing, eyes wide open, lips trembling as he whispered, 1 billion creatures. Jiang Chen didn't bother with that panic. He lightly waved his hand and decisively ordered, 300 million, wipe out the riffraff. Immediately, each swarm of insects separated, shooting off like black arrows aimed straight at the enemy. The black leaf forest immersed in a dense black swarm, the terrifying howls echoing endlessly, a demonic wailing so chilling it numbed the listener's mind. Meanwhile, most of the remaining dust insects still swirled around Jiang Chen, his hand blazing with energy, his gaze cold as ice sang. The remaining 700 million. Follow me to annihilate Yuan Wu Ta. A command to kill ran out. Kill! Hundreds of millions of dust insects merged, transforming into a gigantic creature. The titan insect with a colossal body, sharp teeth, and fiercely glowing red eyes charging straight at Yuan Wu Ta like a massive firework exploding in the sky. Yuan Wu Ta roared excitedly, a ferocious smile spreading across his lips. He clenched his fist tightly, focusing all his strength into the punch. "Come on! A punch exploded, tearing the space apart, the violent collision scattering countless dust insects in all directions. With blood-red eyes, he laughed like a madman. "Jiang Chen, you want to resist me with just this swarm of bugs?" Ridiculous, watching Yuan Wu to crush the titan insect with one punch. Jiang Chen remained calm. Since he couldn't confront him head-on, he would change tactics. He lightly twisted his wrist, flicked his fingers, controlling countless dust insects to continue wrapping around the enemy. A thought briefly crossed his mind. Xiaozhou might be heartbroken, but it was better to endure the pain once than to let them fall in vain. The shattered swarm glowed, turning into a series of consecutive explosions, raining down on the giant body like a dazzling barrage of flares. The continuous explosions roared, the destructive force spreading from the chest to the abdomen, then radiating throughout the body. Yuan Wuta's flesh seemed to be burning. His internal organs shattered. He screamed miserably, in the midst of the stabbing pain. He suddenly regained some clarity, raising his hand high. A blue-white light flared up in his palm. He howled. Element Wuxing Qingdao clenching the divine blade tightly. Yuan Wuta swung his arm, tracing an arc of light. Killing intent surged. His voice echoed with this power. "I am the divine Jiang Chen. Today I will send you and those worthless insects to the realm of death." Ji Hong-en and Gu Kai-Tien both jumped up simultaneously, their faces pale, shouting in panic. Wu Xing Qingdao, the divine weapon of the elemental heavens. Meanwhile, Ji Ling Cho wiped sweat from his face, murmuring, "This move, I fear even I cannot withstand it." Recognizing the overwhelming killing intent, Jiang Chen immediately gave orders. The dust insects retreated rapidly. His voice deepened a self-destruct wave. The remaining ones fall back immediately. Yuan Wu Ta roared, his eyes bloodshot, using the same old trick. "Dream on." He gripped the hilt tightly and struck down fiercely. In an instant, clusters of dust insects exploded into ashes. He shouted loudly, "Wang Tu Ji Dun." Jiang Chen remained unshaken, spreading his arms wide. Countless dust insects gathered around his body, twisting around him like a dense black river with cold, sharp eyes. He spoke in a deep, majestic voice. "I am the king, and you all are my soldiers." Under the dark night sky, the wind howled fiercely, millions of swarmed bodies rising like tidal waves, lifting Jiang Chen off the ground. He roared, his aura soaring to the heavens. Huang Jibing Xingshi, every cell in Jiang Chen's body seemed to explode. Heat spreading throughout his body, vibrating even through every pore, making him unable to help but tilt his head back and let out a long roar. On the Shujia branch, Xiaojin looked down, her face tense and worried as she exclaimed, "Sir, at this stage, your divine soul can only barely sustain using the Bingxing Shi with 400 million Zhou Si Zhong. If you exceed that, Shujia will collapse and your divine soul will dissipate, even if you remain safe. After this move, you will need a long time to recuperate before you can recover." Hearing this, Jiang Chen immediately shouted, "Stop!" causing the swarm dust to quickly lower his body from above and gently set him down on the ground. He furrowed his brow slightly, thinking to himself, if this method isn't enough. As the thought flashed, a black and red divine sword condensed in his hand. Emitting a fierce sword aura, the divine weapon Tian Zui, Jiang Chen activated his divine consciousness and immediately summoned Shujia. In the void, white light blossomed, radiating in all directions. Looking at the divine tree's shadow, he smiled softly and whispered, "Wan Wu Zu Shu, today you follow me to suppress the gods and demons." Witnessing that scene, Ding Chunja broke out in a cold sweat, his voice trembling. "What exactly is that divine tree? It's too terrifying." Nangong Yin also turned pale. Hurriedly stepping back, his whole body chilled. Just a glimpse made me feel as if my soul was about to be forcibly ripped out. At this moment, Feng Wuji abandoned Ouyang Yi to be dealt with by the dust mites. He himself could no longer bear the light emitted from Shujia and shouted loudly, "Stop looking!" Shen Yu was both shocked and amazed, murmuring, "I didn't expect he could absorb up to 400 million Juxi Zhang within the battle formation." Jiang Xianji stepped forward, frowning deeply. Even the soul Shirzhuan cannot withstand this level, yet his physical body remains firm. When we were in the void spirit realm and fought Ao Qian, I suspected he had once used the battle formation. But since there was no weapon and no sound, I couldn't be sure. Now there is no doubt. It turns out that 80 billion Juxi was not the final trump card. As if suddenly recalling something, Shen Yu's eyes widened, her voice filled with horror. Could it be that tree? Yes, it is exactly that tree. In that moment, Zhan Yu suddenly remembered the white glowing tree. She had seen it before and could not be mistaken. Do you remember? Last time, the little god self-destructed millions of Juxi Jiang to fight against Xiao Yuan Shan, and you told me to erase everyone's memories. Shen Yu stepped closer to Zhang Xianji, her gaze sharp and cold. When I used dream energy to enter Zhang Qian's sea of consciousness. In the chaos, I briefly saw a giant tree before being thrown out. Zhang Xianji tilted her head to look at her and replied decisively. When Zhang Qian awakened his profession, this tree also appeared. He is a Yuling Shear of divine level. Shen Yu raised an eyebrow. Yuling Shear? What nonsense is that? I don't understand it. But that thing definitely surpasses all ordinary professional systems. If it must be ranked, then that profession is even higher than divine level. Zhang Xianji was stunned for 3 seconds, her expression stiff as she whispered, higher than divine level? He knew Shan Yu usually slept deeply, but lived extremely long and belonged to the spiritual system. Her words were absolutely not casual. He swallowed hard and whispered, if it truly surpasses divine level, then what exactly does he possess? Shan Yu waved her hand, not wanting to fuss any longer. Regardless of whether that tree is divine level or not, I only care about one thing, whether Zhang Qian can take down that perverted titan. Stop philosophizing and just say it straight. With your combat experience, can the little god's soldier formation fight against Yuan Wu Ta? Zhang Xianji frowned, clasped her hands behind her back, and slowly said, listen to my explanation. The soldier formation is also ranked. The military forces that can be mobilized vary. A lower-level soldier formation can only open 2 layers, while my 3 Jade soldier formation can open 5 layers. He pointed towards the battlefield ahead. I once borrowed the power of 400,000 Shir Shenjun, which allowed me to resist 10 powerful Jujuan warriors and even kill 1 or 2 of them. But Zhang Qian is different. He holds 400 million Ju Shizhong. He lowered his voice, his expression grave. Moreover, it's been hidden that can open at least 10 layers. Only upon reaching this level can the original essence of Ju Shizhong be triggered, forming an abyss that swallows everything. He paused for a moment, then concluded, to be honest, instead of worrying about Jiang Qian, it's better to prepare incense for Yuan Wu Ta. Don't think that just because he is a giant titan, he is invincible. Look, he can no longer even smile. Not to mention that Yuan Wu Ta only borrows the power of the false god. Even if he truly reached Shir Xuan, he would definitely die today. This video ends. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Under the canopy of the blazing ancient tree, Duan Wuta stood there with veins bulging on his face, his eyes like a raging fire locking onto Jiang Shun. He swung his hand, and a long sword instantly materialized, covered in dark purple demonic energy, pretending to be a god or devil. Let's see how long you can hold out, 1 minute or 2, his voice hissed, fingers gripping the sword hilt tightly, the sword's edge flickering like a ghost. Entwined with mystical purple light, he growled empathetically, each word resonating. The 5 elements of the secret realm. I command at will, the sword blade swung high, cold purple light piercing the darkness. The 5 elements, metal, wood, water, fire, earth, converged and spun around like a dragon swarm, exuding an overwhelming force that could shatter heaven and earth. Jiang Shun looked up with deep, serene eyes. You want to concentrate the power of the entire secret realm to crush me? He tightened his grip on his great sword, dark energy bursting from his body like a broken dam. Darkness swallowed the space. Standing before someone who plays big like you, not using something monstrous would truly be a waste. Jiang Shun lowered his center of gravity and said in a low voice, Shujia, get ready, the storm is coming. Opposite him, Duan Wuta narrowed his eyes maliciously. chanting incantations loudly. Each word made the sword flash fiercely, purple lightning crackling continuously like thunderclaps. Extreme flame fire, extreme cold ice, heavenly ice metal, earth-shattered earth, soul-devouring wood. The elemental forces coalesced into a frenzied vortex. The moment he finished speaking, Jiang Shun transformed the darkness into a rolling deep sea, abyss rising. A black wave engulfed everything as an explosion thundered through the air. Duan Wuta's sword slammed down like a meteor falling to earth, the fierce sword energy forming a cyclone that sliced. Straight forward. Die Jiang Shun, he roared, but when the killing intent was still an inch from the opponent, it was split in two. Bursting behind with an earth-shattering roar, he curled his lips coldly. The abyss swallowed everything, darkness like a deep chasm exploding, engulfing all light and elements, greedily consuming to the very end. Duan Wuta froze, screaming in horror. What? The elements of the entire secret realm were drained. How could this be? He trembled as he saw the blackness, like tree roots digging deep, tightly entwining his power, biting and devouring it bit by bit without release. Jiang Shun stepped forward, his body radiating a blazing aura, cold sword brow tracing an absolute path. His voice was low and resounding. The era changes. 10,000 tribes will be worn down by the Great Way, but the vermin have never been. Duan Wuta screamed madly, drawing a dazzling sword path in the air. I don't believe it. Die. Jiang Shun, divine wrath, slash. The sword exploded with power, rushing straight down. But Jiang Shun remained calm, his gaze blazing with killing intent, the abyss power swirling fiercely around his body. Believe it or not is not your right. He slightly narrowed his eyes, his voice like fate. My battle formation can only contain 400,000,009 death obstacles. The explosion thundered as Duan Wuta's sword tip was stopped right before him. Jiang Shun didn't retreat an inch, his eyes shining with cold light. But to kill a fake god like you, that's more than enough. Horrifying waves surged as Duan Wuta screamed, unable to block my bladed weapon with empty hands. Before he could react, Jiang Shun tightened his grip, the sound of cracking spreading across the sword blade, cracks like spiderwebs spreading. And then, Q-Chi Luke, Jiang Shun roared. A shattering blast shook heaven and earth. The sword shattered into countless pieces, fragments turning into numerous wind blades, tearing through the air and cutting through Duan Wuta's flesh. Blood splattered crimson against the endless darkness. Before Duan Wuta could regain composure, a barrage of shattered metal shards lunged at him, embedding deeply in his face and driving him into a frenzied roar. Ika, my blade, my divine power, it's all broken. Jiang Shun gave him no chance, surging forward like a black storm, his sword flashing, the power of Tam. Yu Yan swirling fiercely around him, his voice cold as a blade. Your move is spent. Now it's my turn. Driven mad by pain and humiliation, Duan Wuta howled as his massive foot slammed down like it wanted to crush his foe. No, impossible. I don't believe it. I have ascended to godhood. Even Tom Yuyan will be leveled by me. But despite his roar, Jiang Shun charged forward, his eyes gleaming with cruel mockery, lips curled coolly, ascended to godhood. Humph. Let the great Dao decide. A shout like thunder. Great Dao Qidao. His figure vanished in an instant, reappearing right before Duan Wuta as his sword traced a cold ring of light, slicing deep into his flesh. A heart raw. The piercing scream echoed. Blood sprayed as his leg was slashed open, causing the massive body to lose balance and crash heavily to the ground. In a moment of despair, Duan Wuta silently hissed, "It's over," unable to maintain balance, but it was too late to realize. Jiang Shun transformed into a streak of lightning, gliding toward his forehead. Before he could react, the tip of the sword had already pierced through the third eye. Ancient characters shone brightly as blood poured like a stream. The great path opens the heavens. He tightened his grip on the sword hilt, gathering all his profound power. The blade stabbed deeply into the brain's core with a resonating shout. 9 Nether Soul Devourer. The ancient characters flashed and then abruptly extinguished. Duan Wuta screamed miserably, his cry echoing through heaven and earth. Shortly after, a dark abyss opened wide in his third eye, immense power sucked into infinity. Every drop of divine energy, every breath of life consumed until nothing remained. The divine soul has shattered. Your divine power will plunge straight into the abyss! Jiang Shun's cold voice rang out amid the fading screams. The giant titan body began to collapse like a deflated balloon, its power dissipating, the body shrinking, then crumbling to pieces. No, I will not accept this. I will not accept this. The howl was swallowed whole as his form exploded into a purple mist hovering like a giant cotton candy evaporating into the air. In the distance, Su Qianqian and her team simultaneously looked up, stunned by the earth-shattering scene, the energy, it's truly terrifying. Before they could steady themselves, Feng Wuji, Ding Chunchu, and Nangong Yin charged forward, shouting loudly, "Dodge now! Don't let the violent assault hit you." Immediately, Feng Wuji and Ding Chunchu dashed forward without hesitation, carrying Su Qianqian and Zhang Mingqiu, while Nangong Yin grabbed Howl ran by. The collar and the group fled desperately. Only after retreating to a safe distance did they manage to erect a protective barrier with a dense aura encasing them. Looking at the swirling purple smoke ring in the sky, they all held their breath. Such a powerful strike. Surely the secret realm will collapse. 3 seconds of silence passed. Su Qianqian slightly lifted her head from Feng Wuji's arms, her fox-like eyes flickering with mischief. Perhaps it's nothing after all. Feng Wuji remained extremely vigilant. Don't be complacent. The danger may not have passed. It's just slowing down. Nangong. Yin calmly stroked her chin and whispered, "All right. We're safe now. Everyone can stand up." The group looked at her in surprise. Nangong. Yin glanced ahead with a meaningful tone. "You all take a look." Everyone's gaze converged on the floating clump of cotton candy. Their Jiang Xin stood firm. The abyssal darkness swirled like a deep chasm, layer by layer engulfing the purple energy orb. His voice was deep as if pronouncing final judgment. "Abyssal devour." At that moment, everyone could only stare in horror and exclaim, "Jiang Xin has absorbed all that energy." Realizing there was no longer any danger, Su Qianqian immediately shifted her gaze to Feng Wuji. "If Mr. Cold-Faced here wants to have my tofu, just say it straight." Feng Wuji remained silent, quietly releasing her and not bothering to reply. Meanwhile, Horan stepped in front of Nangong Yin, bowed in a noble manner, speaking half seriously, half teasing. "May I ask, Miss Nangong, do you have a boyfriend yet?" Hearing this, Nangong Yin's face flushed red. She quickly turned away and after a moment mumbled, "Not yet." Nearby, Ding Chunqiu's eyes shone brightly like headlights as he shouted towards Jiang Xin, "Why are you looking at me? Look at Jiang Xin instead. So handsome. It's deadly." Zhang Mingqiu burst out laughing at the group's varied reactions. At that moment, after absorbing all the energy from the cotton candy orb, Jiang Xin's chest suddenly ignited as if on fire. He clenched his fists tightly and hissed, "Damn it! Have I already overexerted?" Immediately after, his whole body felt like a kite with a broken string falling straight to the ground. The group panicked and shouted loudly, "Jiang Xin!" But at that critical hanging by a thread moment, a figure suddenly appeared. A girl in a pink dress with white hair and a fairy-like beauty gently embraced Jiang Xin and slowly descended. The scene left the whole group stunned into speechless amazement. Su Qianqian blinked wide-eyed, only able to stammer, while Feng Wuji exhaled in relief and calmly said, "It seems Jiang Xin already has someone taking care of him." He glanced at Jiang Xin being held in the beauty's arms, then swept his eyes over the battlefield. Jiang Xin was exhausted. The 9-barrier demon had retreated. The main enemy was defeated, but we are also severely injured. Without orders from the Lord, the 9-barrier demon will not stay to Provi to further support. On the battlefield now, only a few scattered remnants of the divine spy unit were dying slowly, clinging to their last breaths. Su Qianqian narrowed her eyes at him, her lips curling slightly. "Ha! I understand what you mean now." Feng Wuji decisively gave the order, "Fight swiftly and win quickly. Provide withdrawal from the trap immediately. Only after we are safely outside can Jiang Xin rest assured and recuperate." The whole team immediately responded in unison. "Understood, Captain." Meanwhile, outside the stands, Yanzun clenched the armrest of the stone bench with such force that his bones cracked. Murderous intent filled the air as he roared like a wild beast. Jiang Xin, how dare you kill my beloved disciple? His eyes blazed red, his gaze sharp and piercing like a blade trying to slice Jiang Xin into pieces through the screen. He gritted his teeth to suppress his fury, but the deadly breath already surrounded him. Today, I swear I will make sure you can never leave Tian Yundao alive. This video ends. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe to our channel. To eliminate the remaining members of the Sandao Highway group who still refused to stay down, one of them jumped up, pressing his foot forward to attack Hunyan. But he paid little attention. Did you want to die daring to hit me? At that moment, Hunyan was very angry. He growled loudly, chanting, "Touch the general, seize the flag," the stance like splitting bamboo. With just a smile, he would conquer Yan Zhao. Then he pushed the straight stance move directly into that ungrateful guy who took a full strike from Hunyan. Another man was being restrained by the powerful energy of Zhang Mingxia. He was screaming, not knowing how to escape, while Zhang Mingxia continuously applied force to bind him tightly. No matter how much you resist, you won't get out of my grasp. Over here, another man was tormented by the combined power of Ding Shuquan and Nangong Yen, with Haimo Jixue cooperating with Zhu Kejian, blasting this unlucky fellow to pieces, suffering heavy losses among his comrades. Zhu Baitian was furious and unwilling. He concentrated his energy to counterattack. But it wasn't that easy. Su Tianxian dodged everything and even mocked him, calling him a weak little brother. At that moment, Su Tianxian displayed her ability, multiplying herself into many Su Tianxians, all rushing toward a single target, Zhu Baitian. The girl was utterly relaxed, attacking Zhu Baitian as if she were flirting with a young man, unabashedly hugging him tightly, causing him such pain that he couldn't move, even complimenting Zhu Baitian as handsome with passionate, fiery energy. Amid the continuous assault, Zhu Baitian's tail wound tightened around his neck, blood-tinged mucus flowing relentlessly. Su Tianxian was gentle like a fairy, but her tail's attack on him was anything but gentle. She even retorted that dying like that was well-deserved. In contrast to Su Tianxian's sweetness, Feng Wuji was decisive. His swordsmanship sweetly and swiftly crossed Ouyang Yi, leaving her motionless and speechless. Then a final remark was heard. "He's a monster." Afterward, Wuxi paid no attention, boldly ordering everyone to immediately assemble and leave the secret realm. Xiao Chan quickly slipped back into the traitor's body. First, they had to save the hero, Feng Wuji, while assisting the traitor, loudly entrusted the task to Xinhai De Wang. Our protagonist felt much relieved, smiling softly at Feng Wuji's urgent demeanor. At this point, there was no turning back. The group of old men from the Sandao Highway gang screamed in terror, unable to believe their faction had been defeated. Meanwhile, Yanjun's voice rose amid the chaotic battle formation, acknowledging that the Xia was truly formidable. Yet he still dared to approach and move close to the Jiangxian group, trying to politely suggest that everyone leave the secret realm and to take the proud spirits back. However, unfortunately for him, this intention was not approved. Ji Lingqiu immediately refused and emphasized that if anyone wanted to lift the restriction, everyone must exit first. Yanjun tightened his expression and asked, "What do you want to do to me?" Yin Wutu, his favored disciple and the child he trusted the most. Until today, Yanjun had completely lost that hope. He bowed his head before everyone and mourned for Yin Wutu, because previously he had regarded Yin Wutu as a son. This guy shouted loudly at Ji Lingqiu, as if blaming him for everything. All his suffering was caused by Ji Lingqiu and Jiang Xian's group. Yet Ji Lingqiu still did not respond, seeing Ji Lingqiu not resist, now revealing a demonic demeanor and planning to vent all his frustration in this battle. Yanjun forced Ji Lingqiu to hand over Jiang Xian to him. If he did not agree, then everyone here in the secret realm would be destroyed. Having endured until now, the core spirit seemed decided to let Xiaozhou appear. The little girl crawled out from the ring on his hand, and Ji Lingqiu even told Xiaozhou to greet Yanjun in front of him. Looking at the tiny Xiaozhou, Yanjun was somewhat embarrassed, but his tone remained very unpleasant, asking why someone would call a little girl here. It seemed that Xiaozhou's cuteness would soften him, but he was still very fierce. He even threatened, "Bring out the dagger quickly or I'll kill this child. Just so you know, this is your best choice." In such a tense moment, Ji Ling-Q whispered into Xiaozhou's ear. You heard that, right? This person wants to kill your father. If so, Xiaozhou quickly understood and nodded slightly. Then he turned to glance at Yanjun in front of him, changing his tone by 180 degrees. Then I will eat him. In just a fleeting moment, Yanjun was caught off guard by what he saw before him. The entire scene was filled with tens of billions of Zhou Shizhong, violently erupting and spreading across the city, covering the entire sky. Seeing this terrifying sight, Yanjun suddenly realized that Xiaozhou was no ordinary child. He firmly called Xiaozhou the Mu Chong Si Yuan of Zhou Shizhong. Ji Ling-Q agreed with this, nodding in affirmation. Indeed, standing before the man who now had no way out, he unleashed his full power. Soaring high as he expanded his strength, Ji Ling-Q calmly turned and told Xiaozhou to go play somewhere else to avoid the little girl getting hurt. At this moment, Yanjun transformed into the Judeo blazing dragon, appearing blazing red with a gigantic dragon head that lunged forward to attack Xiaozhou first. He believed that by killing Xiaozhou first, the billions of venomous insects would become ineffective. Aware of this intent, Ji Ling-Q countered with his heavenly acceptance hard shield technique, but Yanjun still refused to stop. He unleashed the Wanjian Guetong technique to sweep everything away, forcing those around him to endure the terrifying heat. Gukaetian struggled to stand firm against the oppressive force. Emitted, he concluded that this was something beyond their ability to interfere with. Ji Hongan felt scorching, heat all over his body. He had to retreat several meters and exclaimed that he had never seen fire-type rules this powerful before. Yet all attention shifted to Xiaozhou. The two elderly men stared at the girl in bewilderment because she said something that left them speechless. Wasn't this just a small flame? Was it really that formidable? Yanjun was truly terrifying. He howled wildly amid the thick layers of fire, threatening to kill everyone, including those who did not respect him. The fiery flames, summoned by Yanjun, quickly filled the entire space. Facing him directly was Ji Ling-Q, who was still mustering his strength to withstand this dreadful power. He urged a hidden figure to step forward and assist him. With that, the light from old Jiang Shuangga's axe technique appeared, interrupting Yanjun's fiery storm. Now, Yanjun was stunned as his strength was subdued, while above, Jiang Shuangga's dark cloak fluttered into view. Only then did the dignified figure appear before Yanjun. Jiang Shuangga flew high and spoke down in a firm tone. This doesn't look good, does it? Just 2 moves and already shaken. At the sight of the familiar person, Yanjun's face twitched with displeasure. You just returned from Digu? Jiang Shuangga remained strong and looked up to retort. That's right. I came back to show you what the hell on earth really is. Yanjun was so furious he couldn't stand it. That damned old bastard. Meanwhile, Zhang Shun and his teammates had successfully escaped the secret realm. When Yanjun learned of this, he became even angrier. He gathered energy into his palm and screamed wildly, attempting to fly over to stop the traitorous group's departure. Guangxian quickly blocked him with an axe. Outside, after many hardships, Xiaozhou happily embraced her father. Everyone hurried over to ask about his condition. Perhaps the most anxious was Master Gu Kaitian. In response to everyone's concern, he reassured them by saying he was fine. The most precious child of the traitorous group was Xiaozhou. The girl spoke boldly and comforted him. Don't worry, father. When the dust bugs come, I'll eat them. Before long, that swarm of dust bugs returned and was about to open the curtain on Yanjun's tragedy. This video ends. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Yanjun spread his arms wide, his entire body bursting with blazing red flames. The fiery blaze wrapped around him, lifting his whole body soaring high. His blood-red eyes flashed a brutal gleam as he tilted his head back and laughed loudly, his voice booming like thunder as he shouted down to Jiang Shuangji, Sandao Elite, the whole army, deploy at once. A massive warship thundered into view from afar. Its deck packed with tens of thousands of soldiers. Waves of overwhelming momentum surged forth. The entire army simultaneously drew their weapons, swarming out like a swarm of bees bursting from their hive, their shouts shaking the heavens and earth. Annihilate Dexia. Sandao will prevail. Jiang Shuangji gripped his great axe tightly, his eyes like blades cutting straight toward the sky. his face stern as he ground out. As expected, you still have hidden tricks. But don't think you're the only ones who have prepared. He tilted his head to look at Fang Xiancheng and said resolutely, Fang Lao, I trouble you now. Fang Xiancheng smiled slightly, raising his scepter high, his figure hovering mid-air as he replied briskly, No problem, it's nothing. Moments later, his gaze turned solemn. His scepter flickered with a swirling red light. Then a decisive shout echoed, Deploy the teleportation formation. Immediately, the space ahead cracked open, revealing a blazing red gate. Rows upon rows of Dexia warriors stepped out in thunderous formation. Tens of thousands like a flood, shouting in unison. Welcome, Shi Shinjun. Ji Hong stood frozen, eyes wide with terror, his voice trembling. Fang Lao, the legendary spatial mage from 600 years ago and Ren Huang's master, was actually still alive. Back when I was young and training in Digu, it was he who guarded the entrance. Before the words finished, the whole square erupted in waves of excitement. Everyone was shaken, watching the mighty army and the overwhelming aura pouring out from the gate. All shouting in unison, 200,000 troops from Bangu City in Kunlun, crossing 100,000 miles to Tianyun Island. This is a feat absolutely impossible for those below the 9th turning. Standing beside him, Zhang Jun chewed on the hawthorn candy Xiao Zhou had given him, eyes half closed as he assessed Master Fang's strength. He inhaled deeply and thought to himself, I never expected that within the Xiao's Bangu City there would be a 9th turning undefeated master concealed. Yanshun had believed everything was going smoothly, but unexpectedly. Master Fang suddenly obstructed him midway. His eyes glared fiercely, his look cruel as if he wanted to tear his opponent apart. A cold laugh echoed as he said, Old stubborn man, so you've revealed yourself. Good. That saves me the trouble of looking. Do you really think that with just a few 9th turning warriors, 200,000 Shishunjun, and the Jiyu Shizhong group, you can oppose me? Before he finished speaking, Master Fang calmly took a transparent blue sphere from his storage pouch. The pressure it emitted made heaven and earth feel suffocated. His gaze slightly narrowed, and his cold voice resonated. Young one, speaking too much is not a good habit. Spatial prison array, locked as the chime rang out. The sphere immediately locked onto its target, instantly imprisoning the entire fleet along with tens of thousands of Yanshun's elite troops into a colossal cubic block, like a tightly trapped toy. On the deck, soldiers screamed in panic, desperately attacking from within. But each time a barrier layer was broken, another would immediately appear, endlessly continuing. The shouts surged loudly, impossible to break through. This formation has hundreds of layers. Master Fang silently watched them struggle like trapped ants, a scornful smirk hiding in his smile. This formation of mine can never be broken as long as it relies on you all. Seeing his elite troops trapped like fish in a jar, Yanshun's blood boiled, his eyes blazing red as flames erupted from his fists. He charged forward. I will crush you first. Stubborn old man. But Zhang Xuanzi was already waiting. The great axe in his hand swung down, blocking the fiery blaze, his voice thundering, Yanshun. The one you must face is me, Yanshun roared. Bloodshot eyes clenched teeth. Zheng Xuanzi, you dare block me? 10 billion Zhou plus the ancient beasts from Digu will soon flood Duxia. In 3 months, the seal of the heavenly Tao's 10 transformations will break. When the powerful Digu forces arrive, how will you defend yourself? Zhang Xuanji's face was grave as his axe shattered the incoming fireball, his resolute voice shaking heaven and earth. I'll use my life to do so. Today, I kill you as a sacrifice. As soon as the words ended, he raised his battle axe high and shouted loudly, Bayu bin Hin, the instantly. The entire Duxia army stepped forward in formation. The red glow from tens of thousands of troops merged into a sea of fire, then transformed into a thunderous roar that shook the heavens. Above, a pair of blood-red eyes opened, letting out a roar that pierced through the 9 layers of clouds. Yanshun snorted coldly, a sneer of contempt curling at the corner of his lips. Humph. The martial souls of 200,000 Shinjun? Is that all? Zhang Xuanji stood proudly in the midst of the battlefield, his body surging with a dark red aura that filled the sky. In an instant, his muscles bulged, his figure transforming into a colossal statue like a titan. with the battle god domain fully unleashed. With stern eyes fixed intently on Yanshun, he gripped his battle axe tightly, shouting a cry that echoed through heaven and earth. "Duxia generals and soldiers, follow me. Kill!" The rallying cry thundered like lightning, igniting the spirits of the troops simultaneously. Feng Wuji, Shu Qianqian, and countless soldiers roared back in response. "Follow the martial god! Kill!" He swung his axe downward with the force of a collapsing mountain. Yanshun hastily raised a fire shield to resist. The impact hammered down heavily like the weight of the sky, causing him to grit his teeth. His eyes blazing with burning hatred, he bellowed, "Zhang Xuanji, you are no different from Ren Huang of old." Those words only steeled Zhang Xuanji's resolve further. His next axe strike harnessed his full life force, and his commanding shout resounded powerfully. "For harming the nation out of selfish desire. Today I, on behalf of Duxia, shall eradicate you," Yanshun sneered, his forehead suddenly brightening as mysterious patterns appeared. His body instantly enlarged, eyes blazing red like blood, his voice roaring and shaking heaven and earth. "Do you think you alone can transform? If the tiger doesn't roar, the world will mistake it for a kitten." Divine mechanism activated, true spirit descends. The divine realm fully opens. While he was in the midst of his transformation, Zhang Xuanji seized the opportunity, swinging his battle axe with overwhelming momentum, shouting loudly, "Divine Dragon Soul!" A shadow of a dragon deity tore through the wind, charging forward, but Yanshun merely snorted coldly, eyes gleaming with contempt as he unleashed a torrent of boiling lava from his hand. "A mere tiny dragon soul dares to wield an axe before me." The lava surge rushed forth, knocking Zhang Xuanji into the sea where waves roared fiercely. Yanshun chuckled scornfully, but his smile froze instantly as beneath his feet, the ocean surface suddenly surged upward into a massive water column. His eyes flickered with suspicion as he narrowed them. Immediately thereafter, Zhang Xuanji reappeared from within the water column, his form majestic and divine. Behind him, myriad divine weapons manifested, his gaze cold and ruthless like Natra descending to the mortal world, his voice echoing, "Heavenly Hand, War God." Yanshun burst into laughter upon seeing this, his voice filled with disdain. "Heavenly Hand, is it just an illusionary number? You dare to rely on this childish trick to oppose me?" Yanshun Zhang Xuanji swung his battle axe with precision like lightning, each slash blazing fiercely with heavy oppressive force, striking directly at Yanshun as his roar echoed, "Heavenly Domain Annihilation." Yanshun squinted, seeing that the old man stubbornly resisted, even transforming into 1,000 arms like the reincarnation of Nezha. He burst out a contemptuous laugh, ridiculous like a grasshopper kicking a cart. Finishing his words, he concentrated his strength, his palm erupting with hellish lava fire, shouting loudly, "Vow, John Engheap, fire!" In an instant, the two powerful elders clashed, the battle erupting and shaking the heavens and earth. Ji Lingqiao and Gu Kaitian immediately charged into the fight, while Ji Hong and shouted loudly, overpowering the sound of weapons, "Youngsters, retreat! Leave this to us!" Yang Ming refused to listen and rushed straight in, and the elder Sandao also roared, "Kill!" then charged forward. Ji Lingqiao swung his hand in a move called 10,000 Swords, piercing the heart. Countless sword lights blazed across the sky, instantly piercing several enemies who screamed in agony. Gukatian was like a lightning bolt. One sword stabbed straight through, blood spurting dark red. His voice was as cold as ice. "Yang Ming, traitor, there's nowhere for you to escape. I said if I slash you, I will definitely slash you." On the other side, Ji Hong-en unleashed a terrifying palm strike. Large stones fell like collapsing mountains, his cry shaking the heavens. Dadi Ji knew. The elder Sandao hurriedly set up the heavenly steel formation to defend. Ji Hong-en continued relentlessly. Each massive block crashed down like thunder, while he still had time to call out, "Old Gu, once you're done, come over and lend a hand. Make it quick. Kill fast." Gukatian had just finished off the previous enemy and immediately lifted his blade to step forward, his voice hoarse, coming right up, Kachin blade. Jiang Shun sat watching from afar, his eyes shining with interest. Ko Keen then, our master. Handling these guys should be no problem, but Yan Zun, the martial god, might have a hard time holding on. Nearby, Xiaozhou calmly ate chips without bothering to look, mumbling while eating. Dad, don't worry. Just eat enough to stay strong. When the little larvae come, Xiaozhou will eat them all up, even that old man lighting the fire. Jiang Shun glanced at him, half believing, half doubting. Hey, really? Are you sure you can swallow him? That old man's meat is as hard as stone and very tough. He reached out and gently stroked Xiaozhou's small head, half smiling, half sighing. This time, I'm afraid at least half of the Zhou Zhejiang will have to explode for us to hold out. Xiaozhou sluggishly shook his head repeatedly, eyes watering, voice sad. It was hard enough to raise the little ones. How could I force them to sacrifice themselves? Although that old man is stubborn, Xiaozhou isn't weak anymore. Speaking of which, his gaze hesitated briefly, then he gently tilted his face, looking at Jiang Shun with affectionate longing. However, after eating him, Xiaozhou will have to sleep deeply for a long time and won't see Dad anymore. He softly uttered, seeming to understand. Eyes calm, then tenderly called out, Xiaozhou, my child. The sound of wings beating rapidly echoed ever clearer. Xiaozhou suddenly looked up. Shah, Dad! The little ones have arrived. The sky darkened instantly as swarms of insects like black clouds blocked out the sky. Yanzun frowned coldly. They've arrived. Meanwhile, Zhang Shuangji relaxed, his hand holding the axe dropping, exhaling a sigh of relief. Phew! Finally they're here. Seizing the opportunity, Yanzun immediately unleashed a killing strike, aiming to end everything in an instant. He shouted loudly, ordering the fire dragon to open its mouth and spew out a pillar of blazing flames. Jiang Shuangji. Battle formation, your war god realm is over. Die. Caught off guard by the sudden attack, Jiang Shuangji had no time to react. With a grunt, his entire body was struck and thrown back, blood spurting red against the sky. Ji Lingqiao, Gu Kaitian, and Ji Hongan rushed over immediately, alarmed as they called out Old Kwang, Heavenly Man Yu Gongbai, but Yanzun did not miss his chance. The molten palm in his hand erupted fiercely, sweeping straight toward them. All of you. Dai Hira Ji Lingqiao clutched Jiang Shuangji tightly as the scorching lava drew near with no way to evade. At this life-and-death moment, bam! Layers upon layers of insects descended. Tens of thousands of wings fluttered, forming a massive barrier that blocked the fiery blaze. Amidst the sea of insects darkening the sky, the small figure of Xiaozhou appeared, surrounded by countless larvae swirling incessantly. It curled its lips into an innocent yet eerie smile, saying, Uncle Yanzun, I'm here to eat you. With each word uttered, the space between its eyebrows flashed with eerie patterns, eyes half closed, lips slightly moving. Jojo chushing dot, the sound of flapping wings thundered through heaven and earth, as tens of thousands of frenzied insects covered the sky, bringing with them a destructive aura that filled the world. This video ends. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe to our channel.